Hello, hello, and welcome to PolyAmAreWe, the podcast which deals with polyamory and ethical non-monogamy from a male emotional perspective. In studio today, we have who?
Hello, hello.
Wife woman Nash. Hello, wife woman.
How are you, husband man?
So what are we going to discuss today, wife woman Nash?
We are going to talk about conflict.
Conflict. Oh, we're going to get on a real personal zone, aren't we? Because you've got a lot of stories to share here.
No, it's more like how to navigate the conflict and how it works for us.
So how does it work for us? What have we learned over these last few years? How long have we're in an open relationship, what now, 4 years? Actively polyamorous.
22, all 22, 23, and not part 24.
Okay, so 3.5 years.
2.5 years.
Two only?
Yes, because the other two were theory.
Oh, so we were still in polyamory school?
Yes, exactly.
The college of hard love.
2 years in theory and 2.5 on practice.
Oh. Well, anyway, so let's get down to the nitty gritty and the dirty wordies of this conflict. By the way, I just want to say you are a silly squirrel face.
You too, silly squirrel face.
No, that's generally how we handle conflict. No, not really. So, from your experience anyway, Nash, what have we learned? What have you felt has been a growing opportunity for us as a couple, and more so from, looking at me as the emotional male that I can be? I haven't always been as in touch with my emotions, and I've still a lot to learn.
Yeah, I think so. Like for us, if I remember correctly, was a big change because before doing all this opening relationship, we were used to be, I was the one that always get angry. And then I will be going completely silent. I won't communicate what is happening. I will have to let you figure out what is happening. I won't be wanted to talk. If you don't know what's wrong, I'm not going to tell you, that kind of... Well, I never say that,
no,
but
it was that kind of thing. It was like the silent treatment, and I'm just left standing there going, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, it was more that kind of type, and then you will be wanting to fix it immediately, and me wanting to take a space.
Yeah, because I'm generally, I do not like conflict. One of my things, and it comes from my own childhood growing up, where I've seen conflict, I've been in the middle of conflict, and whatever inside of me just gets triggered then. When there is someone annoyed in a room or someone annoyed particularly at me, I want to try and fix it straight away. And I have come to learn that not a lot of people, or not all people, operate that way. I operate that way, which is great for me, but you, on the other hand, you definitely need your space, because I remember some of the arguments we've had where I'm just like, I want to fix it, and you're gone, you're locked in a room, and my thought is, okay, let's send her some text messages from the other room, which don't do that. That was a bad idea.
Yeah, like for me, I think so. I have learned with the years that it's better off to don't say anything in an anger state. So I prefer to take my distance until I am able to process everything, and then I can say everything more clearly. And for you are like anger, you just want to say everything that comes to your mouth.
I'm quick to explode, but I'm very quick to calm down.
Yeah, but after you already make a lot of damage,
exactly,
and
I've already said the words that can't be unsaid. Yeah.
So I think so. Since we opened the relationship, we learn how to communicate, how to be more assertive about what is wrong, about what is the thing that is annoying us, instead of just letting you guess and be angry for 1 or 2 days. Now we try to solve it as soon as possible, but giving ourselves the time to do it.
And me especially learning to give you that time to process things. That's what you need. That's how you operate. And I can't force you into the quick fix, the let's talk about it straight away, let's iron out all the details, because I've learned from experience that does not work for us, because I've needed to learn myself patience to understand, okay, well, you need your space. I have to just sit in this uncomfortable zone until we are at a point when we're ready to have that conversation. And sometimes it doesn't resolve instantly either. We may end up getting in a secondary or tertiary heated kind of a conversation until we finally get to that point of understanding, and most of the time it's over. I think a lot of our arguments have just been over miscommunication, rather than it's not like either of us go out of our way to ever do anything malicious to hurt the other.
But you know what, conflict is not just be angry with each other. Conflict is when you when I want something to be done in a certain way, and you want something to be done in a certain way, and that those ways doesn't match. Doesn't necessarily has to be
either way is wrong.
In a conflicted, exactly, but they are just not matching. Exactly. And it's like some type of conflict where there are things that you know that you will never see eye to eye. For example, you're a person that you love to wake up early in the morning.
Oh yeah.
I love to wake up late.
I know, yeah.
And that could...
It's terrible. I'm sitting around... Any other lads out there can agree. You're waiting for your wife woman to get out of bed to make the breakfast, and she's just not getting out of the bed. Oh, I'm getting that look.
It just basically is... We have to know what kind of conflict is worth to be kind of trying to solve, because...
So choose your battles.
Kind of choose your battles. And as well, to understand that you cannot change the other person. Just the other person is the only one that can change. And you can try to adapt. Like, for example, what we have have done is you wake up early, you go whatever you have to get done, and for the time around the time that you know that we'll be waking up, then you come back to bed.
And we're ready for snuggle cuddles while you're just waking up.
Exactly.
And I've already got like whatever emails I have to look after, a little bit of work out of the way for a meeting that's coming up in an hour's time or whatever's going on. Yeah. Exactly.
So at that point is like we find like the best for both ways,
so without compromise.
Without compromises. So if you are capable to, in conflict, make it a way to connect it more, is when you can take advantage of conflict. Because at the end of the day, conflict is the only thing that is 100% sure in a human relationship.
Well, true, yeah. It doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in, whether you're monogamous, polyamorous, whether you're with family, friends. I mean, conflict is a given because we're all independent thinkers. We all have our own way of seeing the world. There's no way in hell I could ever get inside of your head and see exactly how you see things, because that's an impossibility. And I only have my limited worldview.
Exactly.
You know, and you have your worldview, so oftentimes, I mean, if I see, it's like remember the Facebook thing that was going around years ago, where it was like, what colour is the dress? And it was highly polarising, and there were massive arguments over this colour of the dress. That was
crazy.
But it's just that as an example, just to show how individuals will see things in a slightly different manner, regardless of, you know, how close you are.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it always depends of the person, you know, and you will always have that conflict, but it's matter to know what kind of conflict is compatible and which one is not compatible. So some conflicts you will be able to just work yourself around, be able to connect more from that conflict, and other ones will be more difficult.
Yeah, because that's got me triggering now and thinking about things, is where is the line when you sort of have to, you know, give up your own sense, your own belief structure for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of the other person?
I think so.
Or does that even happen? I mean, that just struck my mind. It hasn't been a thing for us, but I'm sure it happens for other couples.
I think so. Anything that take away your peace and take away who you are without you wanting to take away that is already too much.
Okay, so and then that affects your peace of mind and your sense of self.
Exactly. Like, it's different if you say, you know what, I don't want to be doing that anymore. I want to change that. And if that person can, in their way to be, can help me to do it, that's grand.
Well, in those cases, I think there are professional services out there where couples can go to for those massively big issues where it's make or break kind of for the relationship.
Yeah, but these other ones that maybe won't be that severe, that you can be just talking and say, you know what, I don't like that from me. I can recognize it, because that's other parts of be very conscious about yourself. I think so for healthy relationship, it helps a little bit to be conscious about your emotions, your feelings, because
absolutely.
We'll always have, like, every person will have a bad day. Every person could take things wrong.
Yeah, granted, even look at yesterday. I mean, we were due to record this podcast yesterday, and myself, I wasn't, only on reflection now, and I've learned a lot even in this 24 hours about my own emotional state, that I wasn't in a right place for recording the podcast. I was like, I need to get it done. It seemed like a burden or something that I just had to get out of the way. And that even affected from the get-go, because I was already just setting up the mics and I was like, no, you're too close, you're too far, and just not getting it right. And then because of that and the way I unfortunately do things is I try to speak about things that bother me, but oftentimes there are little things that creep in there and then they compound on themselves. And then there's the one thing, the straw that breaks the camel's back kind of a, you know, and then we have those big, deep conversations after we may have a bit of conflict until, you know, I'm able to feel like I can completely open up about, look, I'm not feeling right. I haven't been feeling right for a few days. You know, and just being completely open and vulnerable. And then the beautiful state of understanding comes. So we're no longer in this place of conflict where we're in a place of understanding each other's emotional states and things that I may say in a flash that, you know, not highly offensive, but things that would, you know, irritate anyone. You know, we can get over that then. Like, I think we've both done that in the past, and I think most couples do, where you don't mean to hurt the other person, but at those moments something just comes out and you cannot take those words back. But
no, I think so. Would you say that's something very important? Like, we know that we don't mean to hurt each other's, you know? And I think so. When you are suspecting that the other person is doing it for hurt you and doing it from malicious side, then is when you have to be careful about what type of relationship you have.
Yeah, well, then you open up the doors into the whole gaslighting. You open up the doors into manipulation and control and egotistical.
So if somebody's listening to this, if you are with someone that you are feeling that is doing it for a malicious side, it's completely different when it's a conflict that it comes from, like, I know I'm just having a bad day. It's nothing to take on you. It's not that I want to hurt you, but it happened to be that way.
Just
you know,
comes from a miscommunication and a misunderstanding, and then the shit can hit the fan.
Exactly, and it's not justifying, but I think so. The tone under it, the vibration under it is like really, really important, and something that helps us. I think so every time that we have a conflict, that is not very often, we tend to have big conversation after that.
Exactly.
So that we use that big conversation to connect again.
And it could even be a day later where, like, we've calmed down, we're back on our normal state, but a day later we might have to sit down and go, well, to avoid that happening again, you know, I'll try and monitor my emotional state a bit better. Or if there was something where you're like, well, I'll try not to be on my phone when we're spending time together, or whatever is the circumstance, you know, because it could be something so minor. Whereas one person, like, it comes down to, like, even the love language is quality time, where one person is wanting to share that time with their partner, and the other partners could be even in work sending emails, you know, and just wanting to get things closed out. And then the first person then taking that as a personal thing rather than it being, you know, just an unconscious kind of, I'll just get it done while we're sitting around. So it's about, you know, navigating what works for each and everyone. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it really does come down a lot to, again, open and honest communication for any relationship. But I won't even say especially for polyamorous or ethical non-monogamous, because it's for every relationship, just to be able to communicate effectively.
Yeah, I think so. It's very important as well when you're in a calm situation. Talk with your partner about how they feel better, to how they manage conflict. You know, for example, in my case, I need a space and I need time just to calm down and organize my thought. In your case, you need to resolve it quickly. So there are 2 points that are completely opposite to each other. So
instead of having that conversation on the back of a conflict, have that conversation just on a random Tuesday over a cup of coffee, going, hey, let's have a talk about this for the next time we reach conflict.
Yeah, exactly. And we have even done it like after a conflict, because that's when you learn more, the things just happen. And I said, look, for me, I need a space because I need to calm down. I don't want to say something that can hurt you.
Well, I suppose that all comes down to as well with regular check-ins with your partner.
Yeah, and then like you were saying, for me, it give me a lot of anxiety if I don't solve it straight away. So we go to a middle point of, okay, give me some time, but I won't take it like in.
You're not going to stonewall me.
At the end of the day, I will come back to you to talk about it.
Because that's something you've changed. Like, as we talked about at the start of this podcast, you've changed dramatically. And there was a point earlier on in a relationship where I was actually afraid. And I've mentioned to you before where I'd be nearly afraid of crossing your way of doing things in case it triggered you. And you weren't angry or anything, but I just know you had your particular way of doing things.
No, definitely.
And there's a lot of things still, years later, whereas I can still go into that modality of, you know, oh, if I do that, Nash will respond this way. But that is a completely wrong way of me for thinking, because you're a completely different person now than you were 3-4 years ago. I'm a completely different person, and our way
I'm a
of
different
dealing
person than
with
1
things-
year ago.
Well, exactly. I'm a different person than I was yesterday.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, that is important. Actually, it's kind of a test, the same way there was a love test language.
Oh,
It's
test
our-
me. Test
It's
your
our test
might.
to see how you can solve conflict, how you solve conflict for you, Like, and it's the same, like the 5 ways that you find that you can repair. Like it
Okay.
feels repairing after a conflict. But for someone
I
else,
did that test. Yeah.
for other person, it won't be. It means
Yeah.
anything. It means like for other person can mean that I preferred when you take accountability of what you did.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I did that test where I think it came out for me that a simple "I'm sorry" doesn't really cut it for me. That it has to be more of a gesture of a learning. I have to see there was a learning there to make sure that we don't fall into this same kind of a thing over and over,
like
because conflict can be one of these vicious cycles where you resolve it and then 24 hours later you're basically having the same argument. You resolve it and you're having the same argument, resolve it, having the same argument. And I think it's at that point in a relationship when you need to reach out to an external source, whether it's a friend who's been through it, or get professional help within yourself or with your partner.
When that happened, like, because many couples get into this vicious cycle of, we have a problem, so we get in a big argument and then we solve it and it's an amazing solve, but then I need other conflict again to feel like, to feel validated, to keep the fire in the relationship.
Wow.
And like, you show me just that you care when we have a conflict to try to solve it.
Yeah.
So I will create other conflict like this. I can keep receiving this proof of love.
Interesting. So there can be a massive link there with emotional intelligence, emotional maturity,
we come back to
emotional.
Needs, so it comes back to needs. When you feel that one need is not covered, then you can create conflict just because you find that way to be finding that need. So I think it's very, very important, especially in any kind of relationship. But when you're open your relationship, you are dealing with more variables that can happen. So it's very important to be very conscious about it.
Because even look at how jealousies that we talked about in other episodes, how they can lead to massive conflicts. Especially now within a polyamorous or ethical non-monogamous situation, when jealousy comes into the mix and it can just then roll a snowball on itself.
Yeah, I think so. At the end of the day, like, people can create conflict out of anything.
Yeah.
Like when somebody wants to create a conflict, it will create a conflict. Just here, the important part is know how your partner solve it, how your partner prefer to handle conflict, and when you square up with your partner, how your partner feels more like a solution to repair after that conflict.
So bottom line for guys out there, communicate properly and just don't be a jerk.
No, but it's very important to have this kind of conscious.
Absolutely.
Even if you can do this test, like the love test, and then doing the conflict resolution, because that will make you, all these kind of tests will create more conscious on yourself. So like this, you are able to ask exactly what you need. And when you are asking what you need and the other person knows exactly how you need it, it will create less conflict, because you will be able, or even if the conflict is there, you will be able to solve it a lot faster.
Well, I suppose that then feeds into accountability then within a conflict, because who knows? I mean, we've had arguments where they seem to just start from one thing and then they snowball, and then later on we're still having a heated conversation, but the topic has completely changed. But I think afterwards, it's all about accountability on owning your part in that argument, whether you've said something somewhat hurtful or somewhat kind of dismissive, to own your shit and just be accountable for, listen, yeah, I know I said that in the heat of the moment and I'm terribly sorry. And just to feel that understanding, especially from your partner who you were having the argument with, that they own their side of it. They had said something hurtful or said something, dismissive, just so you get back on this level of just ultimate respect for each other. Because we can say things in the heat of the moment that we don't mean, or we don't never want to have said.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we'll leave it at that for this episode. And well, if you would like to be a guest on PolyAmAreWe, make sure to drop us an email at polyamarewepodcast@gmail.com, or reach out to us on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or somewhere else where we are. You'll find us online. Just type PolyAmAreWe into the Googlies and they'll all come. And in the meantime, I'm Karl, and enjoy the journey.
Bye. Take care.
Wife, woman, silly squirrel face.
Silly squirrel face.
Squirrel face.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.